Hello, welcome to Geneva, Switzerland, and welcome also to ITU Telecom World 2011, where I'm talking with Wim Elfrink, who is the Emerging Solutions and Chief Globalisation Officer with Cisco Systems. Wim, welcome. That's an enormous job title. It sounds like a big job. What does Chief Globalisation Officer and Emerging Solutions actually mean?
So globalization for Cisco means access to new markets, to new unmet needs, and specifically new partners. If you think about the world as we are at the moment, we have tremendous change in demographics, aging, shrinking, still an explosion of continents that get younger, like Africa, India, the Middle East. So you can't just sell what you have. You have to create what the unmet needs are. So that's then my second title in the job, that's Emerging Solutions. How can we make technology relevant for unmet needs, and then specifically in the rural areas of the world?
So now I understand your role and your remit. What do you think are the main challenges facing the ICT industry today?
Yeah, technology is not the issue anymore. Technology goes with the speed of innovation, and that's still increasing. So it is, how can you make the technology relevant? How can you translate technology in services that either create value or drive productivity improvements? So I think it's up to the industry to make sure that we can really demonstrate the relevance. You know, cloud computing and all these other type, who cares? It is what can you do with it? How can you make it relevant for people to create value or drive productivity improvements?
When you come to an event like an ITU World Telecom, what expectations do you have? What will you learn here and take back home that you didn't know before? And do you have a key message to give to the delegates and visitors and people who will watch this on television?
So when I came here, and ITU has evolved over the last decade, I would say, that I came here with the objective to learn, to share, to participate, and to educate. I think at this moment we are at an inflection point that technology can enable services and productivity improvements that are unleashed. I see the role of ITU, regulation, create global open standards, come up with the right policies. In other words, accelerate the whole consumption of technology to the benefit of the users. Sustainability is the big key, that all the challenges we have in the world, sustainability from an economic perspective, creating jobs, socially, and to create an, I would say, more safe world. And people are happy, crime rates go down. And thirdly, the big challenge of the 21st century, which is going to be the environment. So the recommendation I would give to ITU is really be that facilitator, to bring policies, global open standards, regulation, and best practices. Don't make it a trade show. We have trade shows enough in the world. Really take leadership and show the benefits of what technology can do.
How can ICT help not just economic development, but also social development around the world?
Yeah, Cisco believes that ICT in general is a key enabler. It is what you do with it. What are the services that you create? What can be the holistic type of productivity improvements? And so we have to think much more horizontal. We don't have to think in utilities like electricity and water, gas. We basically position the network as the fourth utility. It can enable tremendous productivity improvements, and it can create value-added services. If you think in examples, in an urban environment, you can reduce traffic by 20% by looking at different ways of working from home, working in smart centers, sharing infrastructure. If people are happy in what they do, crime rates go down. Electricity savings, energy savings in general, in master planning, you can easily target 50%. Water consumption could be neutral, and there are already examples of that on the world. And lastly, I think the point, what really we have to bring home is that also in rural communities, technology can be a key enabler. And let me give you an example. That if you go to the rural villages in India, in Africa, people will be connected. 1 billion people will be connected in the next 10 years. There will be people who will have access to services, to ICT, before they have access to water or electricity. That has never happened before. So new business models will emerge. We can have virtual education for $1 per student per month. We can have virtual doctor calls, because 60% of doctor's calls don't need physical intervention. And you can do that for $3, $5 per call. In other words, we can really use technology not just in cities, also in the rural areas. And so we like to talk about communities and really give benefits to the entire world population.
How can people be encouraged to play a more active role in the development of smart cities and a smarter society?
Yeah, so it's our duty to educate, to collaborate and constantly explain what the benefits are. And that we can have centers where people can experiment, and where you can learn. We also have realized 2 big implementations in Amsterdam and San Francisco, where we have what we call eco-maps, and where you show citizens by zip code what they produce from a waste point of view, and what they consume from an energy point of view. And you can have smart regulation, and depending on, for instance, the amount of waste people produce, give them a break or a penalty. That Amsterdam has set targets, and so I would say participation, explanation, setting shared goals, and that people get motivated. If I say to my children, you know, that you left the electricity on in your room, they say fine. If I say we will share together the benefits of that, and you will get a raise in your pocket money if you achieve that, they have an incentive to look at it. And so I think inclusion, explanation, make it measurable, set goals in your cities, in your districts. And by that, people get used to it, they start liking it, and before you know, they will be experts in consummation of the new services.
And finally, can you tell us one thing that you think needs to happen before we can get closer to the goal of providing citizens around the world with more meaningful access to connected technologies?
Technology is not the issue anymore. The rate by which we produce new technology, new opportunities, cloud computing, video, and technology at any place, at any moment, pervasively, we have to start much more thinking in services, productivity improvement, new business models, make it tangible, and really set goals around that. Technology in itself is not an objective. And technology should be seen as a key enabler. And so as an industry, we have to think how to educate people and to see it as value creation and productivity improvement.
Wim Elfrink, thank you very much indeed.